Hey everyone, welcome to Move the Finish Line. I'm your host, April Nowlin, and if you're looking for a podcast that's authentic, unfiltered, that may make you laugh and might make you cry, you're in the right place. Get ready for an exciting ride with me and my guests as we share stories of resilience, restoration, and winning at life from everyday women. My goal is to encourage you to break through the barriers that are stopping you from chasing your purpose. All right, let's get ready to move the finish line. Hey everyone, welcome to the Move the Finish Line podcast. I am here with someone that I just find amazing, guys. Let me tell you. So I met my guest maybe 2 years ago through my church. She was a vendor at a business event that we had, and I actually bought a couple of her products and got to know her then. And then about a year ago, we came across each other online, reconnected there. So good old Facebook, y'all. And then she had an event, an amazing event called Stiletto Talks. Is that right, Paula? Stiletto Talks? All
Yep.
right. In January, and I had the pleasure of being a speaker at her event. And so as I've gotten to know her, I just wanted to share her story with you guys. It is such an amazing story. And what I love about it is that she is so humble, right? If you did not know her, you wouldn't not know all the amazing things she's doing because she don't just put it on blast. Like, you got to get to know her. So guys, I want you guys to welcome Paula Hutchinson to the podcast. So Paula, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So Paula, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this amazing journey that you've been on for 30 years?
Yes,
So,
yeah.
30 years, y'all, 30 years. And she looked good. Let me tell you, she looked good. So Paula, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Louisiana. I started out originally in college, and then I decided to go to beauty school, follow my passion. And so I've been in the beauty industry for the past 30 years, but in the course of being in that industry, of course, it has led me to create collaborative safe spaces for women who are looking to start their own business, who are looking to thrive and to balance it all with family and life. And so while it started in the beauty industry, now it's more towards transitioning more towards education, podcasts, beauty products. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I do all that jazz, but it's all centered around originally just being of service to other women.
I love it. I love it. And y'all, let me tell you, if you guys get out there and connect with her, you'll see all the stuff that she's doing. She's not just your average hairstylist. She is out here uplifting, empowering, supporting women, helping them to get to where they want to go in life while she's also fulfilling her dreams. So Paula, we talked a little bit about your journey, but I want you to share with people just how you got started. So you've been out here hustling, doing this for 30 years. And sometimes when we look at someone and we see their success, we don't realize the amount of time that's passed and where people started. So share with us a little bit about where you started on your journey and how you even got on this road of entrepreneurship.
Okay, good. Great question. I always love this one. But really, it started out not necessarily a fluke. I always knew that I liked hair. Of course, I come from the era of the New Jack City era, New Jack Swing era. It takes two to make a thing go right era, of
All
course.
right.
So I mean, we all were into doing our own hair, dyeing our hair different colors, things like that. And then so I knew I had an interest in it, but of course, wired just to go to school. I love science, so I started out in college in microbiology. But I also had my daughter in high school as well. So here I am, this young college student, and my daughter lost her hearing. My daughter became hearing impaired. And so from there, I'm thinking to myself, I'm this teen mom. I'm going to need money, more support a little bit sooner with my daughter having a disability. And I went to a beauty school, visited the school, and realized that I could go to school just on a grant and I wouldn't owe anything. And so I went back to the registrar's office at Southern University and told my mom that I had registered at beauty school, and she said I was a fool. But now,
Girl.
30 years later, she's also been present for a lot of my awards and stuff like that in business. But I just had faith that it was going to work out. And
Mhm.
not without hard work, because I've had to work, but I had to really learn all that I could about the business. And I knew early on that I wanted to be a business owner too,
Mm.
starting school. So I figured out that with my daughter, I needed to work in a way that was going to be comfortable for me because I didn't
Right.
know what type of learning she was going to have, how it was going to be scheduled. So I knew that I needed something that would help my own schedule. So this is how I got into entrepreneurship. And so being in entrepreneurship has been such an amazing journey for me. I absolutely love it. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do it the same way. Because I've learned so much along the way, and it has allowed me the opportunity to be able to genuinely and authentically share what I've been through with others, and they can relate because they know that I hear them, I see them, and I
Yeah.
get it. So everything is for purpose. So I wouldn't be able to do what I do now if I hadn't gone through it. So if I had to say, would I do it again? Absolutely. But that's how I started out really young, got into the business, lots of bumps, lots of scuffs. But just being a lifelong learner has also benefited me. But it has been now 30 years. I
Wow.
believe it's been that long.
Wow. So when I hear your story of you becoming a hairstylist, right?
Mm-hmm.
The movies that come to mind obviously are like barbershop, beauty shop, all these different places where you see these communities of men and women and having a place to kind of literally let their hair down, let loose, get to know each other. And so you didn't stop there though. You didn't say, okay, I'm just going to be the best stylist ever, right? You ended up transforming into something much greater than that. So you are now helping women to start and grow their businesses. How did you transform? I'm going to be a hairstylist into now I'm going to help other women to pursue their dreams.
Really, from one thing about the hair salon, I always say we're the original OGs of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, especially in the Black community. Barbershops and beauty shops, we are kind of the cornerstone for that. And also within that area, it's a safe space already for us to discuss
Mm-hmm.
things that matter to our communities. And at the time, in my area, of course, we've endured Hurricane Katrina, we've endured, of course, the recession, hurricanes prior to that. And so with all of the transitional changes that were going on and economically, and people are talking about the need and what they had a need for, and you're looking at these customers, you know them as your friends, you know them as your family, and you're like, how can I help? How can I use my voice or the platform that I have right now to be able to support my clients like they support me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how it started. I eventually ended up with a building where I intended to open a school, and I started having events there. And so I would showcase Black women, Black businesses, and it just started to grow and take off from there. So really around 2008, I would say we really got heavily, me, myself, and as well as my coworkers at the time, just really heavily dove into the community and what we could do to help. And having that space, I also saw women were just struggling like, how do I do this? I have my children, but I have my family. This person need me. That person need me. But I have this passion. My job has ended in many cases. What do I do now? I need extra income. I need flexibility. And they're looking at you, and they kept asking me questions. And I said, well, I'm going to start having events so that way I can tell you how it really went. Because in the salon, we may not have had all the time that we needed to really share. And when I first had the first event, 11 people showed up, and then 50 started to show up. And
Wow.
then it started to be to where we were just sold out. We have no room. And so it just really grew into a movement of constantly providing information. But again, it's being immersed in my community. They were really like my focus group now, if you had to look back. And they were authentically sharing what they needed. And you're just answering the community needs. So that's how my platform, without realizing it, just
Mhm.
sharing information and my own personal experiences in my salon, being very open with them about what I had going on. They were able to also, it just opened a door for me to do other things for my community and really give that reciprocity back that my community needed at the time.
I love it. I love it. When people ask me sometimes, I'm thinking about starting a business, what should I do? And my answer is always find a need and fill it. And the fact that you saw a need and didn't just say, well, I just have a salon, so we'll just talk, while I'm here, and then I'll see you in 2 weeks, girl. But that you had a greater desire to help women to keep going and said, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. So we're not just going to do hair, but we're going to have events and things like that. So between that 1993, that 2008, when you're you're starting to morph into who you are now, was there ever a moment that you were like, this is crazy, what am I doing out here? Did you ever have those moments where you kind of question, like, this next step is going to be big and I'm not sure what I'm doing?
Yeah, so I started with a 3-chair salon when I started my own salon. And then I decided to expand and stretch out on faith, and expand to a 14-chair salon. So that's quadruple what you already had.
Right.
And so I was still really young. I was like 29 at the time. And people, of course, say you're nuts. Maybe you're not necessarily educated in business, having a business on that scale. But at the time, I just always had faith. And I tell people, if it keeps you up at night, it's worth doing. That's your inner voice. That's Holy Spirit. Whatever works for you, that's what's calling to you. If it's irking you, you can hear it. You can almost hear it in your head, and no one else can hear it around you. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And to me, often if people say you're crazy, you're usually on the right path. So yeah, I was told I was crazy. This makes no sense. And they are actually now some of my most faithful attendees at my events because they've lived to see the story. And it's not just about risk taking, it's about faith walking. I just believe that it was going to work out because I had nothing else to go but down. So I wasn't trying to, and I knew what I was trying to do. I could see it, and I needed to work this out to the point where I could see it come to fruition. And so I was used to the odds being stacked against me being young, having a child young. So I was used to that. So I had gotten used to, I let that adversity actually build me and mold me instead of, I was used to being told no. So I expect that out of you. So I use that as my energy and my motivation to grow. And it worked out. So I tell people that no is often the yes that you need, because that's going to let you know it's plausible, because just because someone else doesn't see it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Oh, I love it. I love when you said, if it keeps you up at night, keep going, keep on going. So you're from Louisiana, which we can hear it. I love it. But you live in Arizona now. You don't live in Louisiana.
Right.
So making that move, because you were established, making that move from Louisiana to Arizona, what did that look like for you?
I'm going to be very honest with you. It was hard for me because we moved because of my husband's job. Our youngest child had graduated from school, and we felt like we were getting older. We wanted to be somewhere we could retire, maybe not have such a rushed pace. We were in so many organizations together. And we decided just to have a shift and a change, to live a positive life and where we were in life, what we felt like we should do. But what I will say is I did not prepare for the shift. And I tell anybody, when you decide to change is always met with resistance. Just like if you go walk a mile today and you haven't walked in a year, your body's going to let you know, like, we're not here for it. So it's your body's going to resist that. And so my mental, my physical, my spiritual mentality was just at an all-time low because I missed my friends. I missed my community. I missed what I felt like I had built at that time. And then I came somewhere where everything was spread out. It took me probably a month to see people that looked like me. My nerves was bad. The demographics was different. And here I am in this foreign place. And it was hard. It was hard at first. But I remembered again that I'm always used to being in opposition. So I'm used to the adversity part of it. I'm used to it. And so I just had to get busy planting. And it's really like being in a valley of dry bones. You have to literally keep speaking to something until something happens. And I just kept going and kept learning the area, kept finding the area till I dialed in and realized that this area had a need, just like my hometown had a need. And I still go home, and I saw that here The first event we had here, we had 50 people. So the same faith that I did there, I exercise it here, and it worked because that's what I'm supposed to do. If you're doing what you're called to do, the vision is going to have provision to meet it.
Yes.
Now, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then it is what it is. But where you have that vision, provision just comes out of nowhere. I met some amazing women, some amazing sisterhood in Arizona, and they have really blessed me to help me find who I needed to find my tribe, find the network that I needed, and help to ultimately support what I had going on here. So Stiletto Talks now has expanded its footprint when I didn't know how that was going to look when I moved here, because they didn't look like that at first.
Yeah. Right. So you didn't know what was waiting for you on the other side. Y'all just said, look, we want something better and we're going to go after it. And I love that you were transparent about the fact that it was hard, because sometimes we think that when we built something so far and we need to pivot, that pivot is going to be easy. And that's not always the case. That is not always the case. And so you mentioned a word just now, network. And so I know that you are big on community. A lot of what you do is orchestrating community and building communities of women. And so along your journey, along these 30 years, who was your community? Whether it was family, friends, professional, but who was your community that's kept you going and kept you uplifted?
So it started with my customers, and I'm going to be very honest and not a slight to my family.
Mm-hmm.
My blood family does not really support my businesses. They really don't attend my events. And sometimes it's not the fact they don't support you or that they're not proud of you. It's just not something they're interested in. Or sometimes the proximity to you, or me as little Paula, your cousin, your niece, or something like that. They can't see it in you. So don't get offended by that, because a lot of people get offended and they always got to post when they do something. Oh, you thought I wasn't going to do nothing but 999. And that's something that you have to stop doing. What you have is not for everybody. And that means even the people that are related to you. And just because they are related to you doesn't mean they have a responsibility to support you. With that being said, I will say that it's just really all God for me. God sent the right people to me at the right time. Everything that I did, if you walk the path, and as crazy as this sounds, it sounds so cliche, and people say, oh, that's not possible, you're just saying that. But if you just start walking, people will meet you where you are. Literally randomly meeting people. Just even when I moved here to Arizona, randomly met a lady on Style Seat. She came to me. She loved what I did. She became my friend on Facebook. She saw all the stuff that I did back home, and she was like, Paula, why don't you do this here? I know of a hotel here that you can do this at. And then she just also started introducing me to people just out of the blue, just random. And I mean, we didn't talk past being in the salon all the time. So, and then I joined, of course, found a church, and you just found that network. And that was just really key. So community, when I say I am a product of the community, I mean just that. I am a community bred business. I am a community bred entrepreneur. You need your community. And what community looks like is people who are willing to support you with little to no effort, whatever you have. There are people that still support me no matter what I'm having. They'll buy a ticket and tell you to donate it to somebody else because they just support and believe in your mission and your vision. So just because somebody that's close to you or related to you doesn't support you, just don't take that in offense. It just may not be for them, or maybe they can't see it, at the time. It took my mother probably about 20 years. I happened to receive an Icon Award, and she finally told me, I'm proud of you. So keep in mind, the last time we had that conversation regarding that, dropping out of school and going into beauty school, that I was a fool and it was going to be hard for me to raise my baby. So this is the last really conversation we had about my career going forward. For her to see all that you had done, she didn't really realize that until she was at an honoring ceremony and realized them calling off all this stuff because her proximity, for she knows, all she knows is that I'm her daughter.
Yeah.
So that's what she sees. She sees little Paula, the one I raised, the mother of my grandchildren. That's what she sees. That's what she knows. But in the community, they know you as the person that's there. They're their champion. You're the underground queen. You're the one that help lift other people up. You bring them into a different light when it comes to entrepreneurship. So I am truly a product more of the community. So don't necessarily look for family and friends to necessarily support you, because sometimes their proximity to you is they're too close to you to see the light that you have on you.
Oh, that's good. Good. I love that because I think that when we go into business, we expect our family to be our biggest cheerleaders. And we expect them to buy all the products and to come to all the events and buy all the services. And that is typically not the case.
I've been in business for 30 years, and I can honestly say that my family has not bought $500 worth of anything from me, whether it's services, products, because I sell products and everything. And I'm not saying that again in a bad way. It's just, to them, you're just Paula Jean. They don't know, to them, this is my cousin, this is my niece, this is, my goddaughter, something like that. They don't understand that. And so, but to your community, they're closer to you because they're around you all the time, and they're looking at you in a different way. So sometimes it's the view too. And again, sometimes proximity just tends to skew that, So don't always look for that. You want to go out, and you have to do the work to go out of network. And so if your family is your only network, sometimes just like with your health, in order for you to get well, you have to go out of network, so you got to go out of the network that you knew and find another network or expand your network to people that will support you.
Yes, yes. And I think it's important that you assign your help according to their abilities. And what I mean by that is, with your family, and I'll use me an example. As a business owner, I don't go to my family with business problems, right? My family is great on, hey, you can do it and keep going. And we love you and we support you. And all those things are great. But if I'm trying to make a business decision, they're not the ones I'm going to call. That's a whole nother community of folk that I can call to say, hey, y'all, I'm thinking about starting this or stopping this or growing my business. What do y'all think? And so I've learned over the years, because that was me as an early business owner, I would go to my parents and be like, what do y'all think about me doing this event? And it would just be like, well, and so I would get kind of hurt because I'm like, well, y'all don't care. And they couldn't help me. And so I think allowing your community to be what they're best at in your life will benefit you. So like you said, it's not always going to be your family. And I probably have 3 different groups. So I have my family, I have kind of like that personal friends group, and then I have what I call my mastermind group. And my mastermind, those are the ones that I can text them at 2:00 in the morning going, y'all, I just had this idea for an ebook, and somebody would text back and be like, that's dumb, go to sleep, because that's not even what you're trying to do. Versus the friends group would be like, girl, do it. Go ahead and do it. And then I'll be in lost time and money on something that I know I shouldn't be doing. So I think that's really good. I want to talk about, so you talked about your family and you talked about how you've got this community of people, within your life. How do you get recharged? So, at the beginning, we learned a little bit about, you got salons, you've got products, you are out here doing events, you're doing online stuff. What does Paula do to make sure that Paula stays sane as she is walking out her purpose?
Paula gets gone. So I'm very big on, as much as I love to be around people and I get so much energy and I love it, I also have a lot of time for self-care and solitude. I think sometimes it is very important for you to get quiet so you can hear like what you should be doing. And really, for starters, internalizing what you have accomplished and then seeing what you need to do going forward. That gives you time to be vulnerable, to cry, to celebrate, to be mad, punch air, whatever the case you need to do. Like I said, I'm really big on traveling and just detoxing, where I'm not connected to so many people, and just having that I believe in retreats, lots of spa time. I am that girl. I need that time just so that I can. And like, I like going places where there's no phone reception, where you can't contact me. And my husband is really big on taking me places. I don't know how, but he continues to find places where there's no phone reception. And I think he likes that because then he has you all to himself. So, but I like it in that I can regroup. And I think that's when I get my best ideas, when I can just be in solitude with my planner and I can write things out. So I definitely While I love to be with people, I definitely take a few trips a year just to be in solitude, even with the pandemic. If I can't go out of town, like per se, or like and be in proximity of people, even if it's just to Sedona, for example, and I'm just
Mhm.
out in some rocks, I need to do
Yes.
that. I need some outside, some air. I need to be to myself. So that works best for me.
Good, good. I wanted to bring that up because when we talk about being an entrepreneur, at least when I started, gosh, 10 years or so ago, it was, team no sleep and you just hustle and grind until you die. And I was like, oh no, I don't subscribe to that. I take regular naps. I'm gonna go to bed on time and I have a people quota, which means once I've hit my quota of people for that day or that week, I'm done with y'all. I want to be by myself. Sedona is one of my happy places. I love being up in the mountains and up in the Red Rock and just breathing the fresh air. But for y'all that are listening, look, that whole hustle until you die, don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're going to get so burnt out. You're not going to see the 30 years like Miss Paula, because y'all going to quit after 2 years.
And what happened with me, and so I started out with that hustle mentality. Keep in mind, all this is out. This is before the big time of songs, and we
Mm-hmm.
got money, we still fly, and all these things. But what you realize is that the burnout is real, the
Yes.
frustration is real. You actually thwart your creativity by just running on fumes. And I've actually been hospitalized multiple times for potassium deficiencies because I've literally ran myself until I just passed out.
Mm.
When you do that, that's not serving you any purpose. Um, you are hustling, and what it is that when you're an entrepreneur, the whole goal is to give yourself benefit. A boss would drive you like that, but you should
Yes.
drive yourself like that. So the whole thing is to give you benefits that you would normally experience on the job. So, and one of those things is freedom, and sometimes you have to make sure that you're in alignment with your goals and in your purpose. And I promise you, it's going to take care of itself. If you're doing what you're supposed to do
Mm.
consistently, everything will take care of itself, even the money part. If you're just chasing money, that's all you chasing. And you'll get to a point, even when you get the money, because at one point in time, I had 3 salons. So we had the money. I was miserable. That's actually when I
Yeah.
spent most of my time in the hospital because I was just running myself on fumes. And so yeah, the money was rolling in and you get to, make, $5,000-$6,000 a week and you just rolling in money. But the downside to that is that you sick, and you spending probably $1,000 a month to be well. So it wasn't worth it. So the trade-off is and now in my later years, I've had 2 surgeries in 3 years. So what does that say? That says self-care. So if I had to tell
Yes.
anybody something regarding the hustle, don't treat it like a hustle. That's your business. That's your passion. That's your brand. And you treat that different than a hustle. You honor it. You revere it. And so you would select how you would handle it. And so you have to be selective in some of your battles. So everything isn't for you. And if you concentrate on the right things, it's going to work out. It may not work at the same pace, but I've seen people with way more talent than me who are gone.
Yeah.
They're not even in the industry. They hate it because they chase the hustle and the money and they're already out of. They don't even want to mention the word hair. They don't want you to post a picture of them tag. They take their social media down. Like, don't even tag me. I don't want to be bothered. They'll go and start doing a whole nother profession. Just leave me alone. And that's how they feel because they just burn themselves out. So I definitely don't suggest it. Don't hustle. Don't hustle. Treat it like a business from the beginning because you'll revere it better.
I love it. I love it. So, Miss Paula, I just want to say thank you again for spending some time with us, sharing about your business, being open, being transparent. And if there's someone who's listening who was where you were at, maybe in 1993, 2003, 2013, and they are, at that crossroads of saying, I've got this dream and I don't know, or, I've been in this dream and I don't know, what advice would you give them?
For starters, again, if it keeps you up at night, it's worth doing. And whether you're a faith believer or you're a person that just believes in logic, either way, life is about a hypothesis, about overcoming an obstacle, finding that need, finding that niche, and fitting what works for a community, because ultimately community is going to be your customers, your clients, whatever the case may be. And if I had to say anything, get going, write it down, make it plain. You need to be clear on your goals, and having that clarity on your goals will help you align the people that you need. And that is what you will always go back to. When I drift too far from my vision, I go back to what I originally wrote down. So write it down, make it plain. It's really the best way for you to discern what is the right path for you to go, because that's ultimately what it gets down to. Is it in alignment with what you're trying to do?
That is so good. That I love the fact of you said write it down. So a lot of times we keep our dreams and our desires in our minds, and it's so hard to keep them in front of us when they're not written down. When I first started out, I wrote my dream on my mirror with a whiteboard marker. And so every day when I would get dressed, I would just see it up there and see it up there. And whether it was my dream specifically or goals I want to accomplish. And so I kept it before me all the time. So that is excellent advice. So Miss Paula, if we wanted to get in touch with you, how can we connect with you?
So because I have so many sites, I did condense some things down this year. So that way, when you go on one page, it'll get you covered pretty much for everything what you may need specific to me, because I do help other entrepreneurs for a fee. If they want to get their song and dance together with their business, help identify that clarity, I can work with you with that. Then, of course, we still do the Stiletto Talks events as well, providing that education for women and just how to do life and work on your business at the same time, or even for my respective podcasts or products. So the best way, of course, is Linktree. And if you go to Linktree, you can find me at P Hutch Motivates. And that's a great way for you to tap on the specific tab that you may need. If you're looking to be a part of our community, learning about all the great women in Stiletto Talks, people like you that are doing things each and every day, just making it work. You can go to www.thestilettotalks.com. And then if you're looking for me to speak at anything or do a class for you, you can always find me at paulajhutchinson.com.
Thank you. And all that is in the show notes, everyone. So connect with Paula. Like she said, she is out here helping these women do the thing. And so if you guys need a little bit of support, I can tell you I was a speaker at an event in January, but I took 4 pages of notes as a speaker. So I'm telling you, the stuff that she is doing is working. She is out here changing lives. So thank you again, Miss Paula. And for all of you listeners, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Move the Finish Line. We will talk to you guys soon. All right, y'all. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I pray that it encourages you and you were able to laugh a little bit along the way. Now, if you know someone who has a story of resilience, restoration, and winning at life, let me know. I would love to share their story with my audience. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you guys don't miss a beat. If you want to connect with me, hop over to aprilnowlin.com, where you can learn all about how I help women to cultivate their purpose so they can impact more people. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram and Clubhouse under April Nowlin. Thanks again for listening.